Hello, my name is Kyle Sanciangco with the Community Health Outreach Team. Today, I want to talk about diabetes, not just as a medical condition, but as something that truly affects people's everyday lives. A lot of people have heard of diabetes, but not everyone fully understands what is actually happening inside the body. And when we don't truly understand something, it's easy to underestimate how serious something can be or how much it can impact someone's daily life. So, at its core, diabetes is a condition where the blood sugar or glucose stays too high in the bloodstream. Glucose is not a bad thing, your body actually needs it. It is the main source of energy. Every time you eat, especially carbohydrates, your body breaks down the food into glucose, and then the glucose enters your bloodstream. But for that glucose to be useful, it has to move out of the blood and into your cells, and that's where insulin comes in. Insulin is the hormone made by the pancreas that is meant to respond to the glucose. Its job is sort of like a key. It unlocks your cells so that glucose can enter and be used for energy properly. When that system is working, your body maintains a really precise balance, homeostasis. Blood sugar rises after you eat, insulin is released, and glucose enters your cells. Then glucagon decreases and the levels come back down. But when that system breaks down, glucose builds up in the blood instead of going and being delivered where it's needed. That is the result of diabetes. In type 1 diabetes, the body doesn't produce enough insulin at all. This can be very dangerous as people aren't getting the proper amounts of blood sugar that they need in their everyday balance. In type 2 diabetes, which is more common, the body still makes insulin, but the cells don't respond to it. They build a resistance to it. This is actually called insulin resistance. Even though the causes are different, the outcome is similar: too much glucose staying in the bloodstream. Over time, that can lead to symptoms like feeling chronically tired, unusually thirsty, going to the bathroom more often, blurred vision, and sometimes even unexplained weight loss from malabsorption of nutrients. And all those symptoms alone are very impactful to the quality of someone's life. Imagine trying to focus on everything that you focus on in your daily life, on focusing on your relationship with your spouse or your relationship with your kids or your relationship with God, and maintaining your studies or maintaining your career, but chronically you're feeling tired and just not well. It's heavy, and it can be hard for somebody to live that way. Beyond these symptoms, though, if diabetes is not treated and properly maintained over time, it can start affecting the major systems in the body, like the heart, kidneys, the nerves, the eyes, and the blood vessels. So it's not necessarily only about sugar, but it is about long-term health, independence, and the quality of one's life. And one of the hardest parts about diabetes is not something that you treat once and move on. It's something that has to be managed every day. It shows up in the small decisions, in what you eat, in how active you are, in whether you have this new chore of checking your blood sugar and taking medication. And those decisions don't happen in a vacuum. People have jobs, families, responsibilities, dealing with stress, financial challenges, or limited access even to healthcare or insulin that they may need. So managing diabetes isn't only about knowledge, it's about real life. And that's why it can feel overwhelming, not because people don't care, but because it is a constant responsibility for the afflicted. So what can we actually do to manage it effectively? First off, monitoring the blood sugar is key. Using a glucometer allows for someone to see what's happening, truly measuring and allowing for awareness of their affliction. Second would be taking their medication as prescribed. Most of the times that's insulin, that's injectable, or it's oral medications. Beyond that would be balanced meals, staying physically active, drinking lots of water, and obviously getting proper rest. That one is probably top of the list. These aren't general health tips. They directly impact someone's blood sugar level in a real and measurable way. None of this is about being perfect about your treatment if you have diabetes or are afflicted by diabetes, but it is about being consistent about your treatment, not being perfect. It's just about the small decisions that add up every day into the big picture. As someone who's pursuing a career in healthcare and someone who takes my faith seriously, I don't see science and faith as separate things. If anything, really, the more I study the human body, the more I feel my faith is strengthened. Because when you stop and think about it, the human body is very incredibly detailed and just very mechanical, and there are just very intricate parts that run the whole system that just feels like there's somebody who made it that way. Because eventually it ended up in our thoughts as well, and we ended up making these systems ourselves with our own hands with machines. And the way blood sugar is regulated, the timing, the feedback systems, the coordination between systems, communicating, it's all very precise. And that is all another note I wanted to add about the creator's perspective. I believe that really it's just about being present and being consistent about your treatment, and not really about only allowing the afflicted one to survive, but helping the one to live well, even with their conditions. Because diabetes is not just a diagnosis, it is a daily experience, and people deserve support in that, in a personal way, just like Jesus had commanded us to love our neighbors. So if you know somebody who's dealing with diabetes, I just want you to know it is manageable. You're not alone, and with the right habits, the right support, and consistency, it is possible to live a healthy, happy, and very full life.
Hi, I'm Melissa, and the way I will show compassion and empathy with my patients is by being able to speak to my patients, especially those that speak Spanish, because a huge part of why I'm into the healthcare field is to be able to directly communicate with my Spanish-speaking patients to show representation. So I will be explaining how diabetes affects my patient in Spanish, so that way they can fully understand and not have any confusions. Hola, soy Melissa, del equipo de extensión comunitaria de salud. Hoy les explicaré la diabetes, una afección común que afecta el funcionamiento del sistema hormonal del cuerpo, especialmente la insulina. ¿Qué es la diabetes? La diabetes significa que el nivel de azúcar en la sangre se mantiene demasiado alto, porque la páncreas no produce suficiente insulina o el cuerpo no puede utilizar correctamente. La insulina es la clave que le indica a las células que tomen la glucosa de la sangre para obtener energía. Cuando falta o no es efectiva, la glucosa se acumula, lo que provoca fatiga, sed excesiva, misión frecuente y pérdida de peso. Taking a further look into diabetes, diabetes mainly affects the pancreas. The pancreas is this little yellow organ here that sits behind the stomach. So what our pancreas is responsible for is insulin production for our body. When you have diabetes, the pancreas produces insufficient amounts of insulin. Insulin is what we can call and say is like an escort for glucose to enter our cells. Glucose comes from the foods that we eat, mainly carbohydrates. So when insulin brings glucose into the cell then uses that for energy. So when we don't have enough insulin, it creates an insulin resistance of the body because then our cells are not able to use that glucose for the energy. Then our body just stores up that glucose, unable to use it. Diabetes can be broken down into two categories, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is that the pancreas lacks enough insulin secretion. So it's really an autoimmune insulin resistance. Type 2 diabetes develops later on in life, but we have been seeing a rising numbers in adolescents. It is the progressive insulin resistance and decreased insulin production. So you got this diagnosis of having diabetes. Moving forward, what we will be doing is monitoring your blood sugar levels on the daily, taking your prescribed medication such as insulin, and living a healthy lifestyle, meaning balanced meals, regular activity, and staying very well hydrated. As healthcare providers, we are not here to play God on earth. We are here to study, admire, and appreciate His creation and maintain it to that level.